Goes out to all the homies. You have been missed. Oh yeah, yeah. Coming along the 405, you know I'm blinded. Can't tell what this is anymore. Your mother called me. She said, "What you doing? Where he at? I need to speak to my son." Oh, but he's too busy now. I don't know where I am. Everything feels so faded. Everybody calm down now. Hey, don't tell me how to live. I can't even think for myself. Wavy. Oh yeah. Oh, so wavy. Chilling in the backseat with my friend in the hopping. I don't even know what the hell it was. Hey. I know Zayd is always confused because I am health conscious, but not today, but maybe tomorrow. And tomorrow's a good day because I will be living it up at McDonald's.
Mickey
Damn,
D.
nothing really knows how.
Mickey D's nuts.
We really need lyrics prepared, dude.
You need lyrics prepared, not me.
Hey, he busted out the guitar and he's like, you said you down? What do you think my response is going to be?
Of course a yes, but I'm not the one singing.
Of course
You
I'm
are.
down. Bust out a guitar, I'm down. I don't have anything prepared, but I'm down. Right?
Which is why we admire you at the 2 a.m. podcast.
We got
Maybe
preparation.
you as the writer should be the lyricist as well.
Ooh.
Maybe.
There's a difference between...
Stay tuned.
Touche.
Oh, I must say that is touche.
But welcome back to episode number 79.
I would say that was douche, if you ask me.
Oh, wow.
Very.
We are almost 20 episodes away from Big Hundo.
Yes. So what are we doing for Big Hundo?
Zero,
That's,
zero.
that's the real question.
We'll discuss that off the air, but
Off the
See.
air.
off the live.
Maybe if there was some air in here. God.
Yeah. At this point, I just want to demolish this building.
I like how back in the older episodes,
Mhm.
for any of the listeners who are very attentive, I think it was episodes like the late 40s into around the early to mid 60s.
The sweaty ones.
Oh yeah, like at the start of an episode we'd be looking normal, and then towards the end it's just dripping sweat, like we're peeling
Yeah.
the shirt off of us.
We've run a marathon.
I remember, I don't know if you guys remember, but it was like episode 30, 40 something. I literally dipped. I was like, I can't handle this. And I dipped outside to go
Like, fuck
breathe.
this.
Really?
I literally almost like
I remember
boked.
it.
I almost boked
I
outside.
do not remember that.
Wow.
Heat makes you boke?
No, but that specific
Actually,
day.
yes, it does.
Yeah, it does.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not
Have
good
you
for your
ever had a
body,
heat
bro.
stroke?
You ever heard of a sauna?
You ever had a heat stroke?
Yeah, I've heard of sauna.
No, because I'm infallible to heat strokes.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. You're a
I am-
genetic god.
I am the suntanning
You're the only
lord.
perfection to ever land on this
Bro,
planet.
you are suntanning
Good
in
man.
48-degree weather. Like, come on. Like, there's still cold air to breathe.
Bro, summer is going to be intense, though.
Yeah.
Catch Zayd outside on a day that's like 48 degrees. The UV index said it was 7, bro.
Yeah, bro.
Speaking of, today it was an 8.
I
Was
knew
it-
he was going to
what?
bring it up.
So, yeah,
I
at
knew
an
he was
I
8,
thought it
gonna
was a
bring it
6.
up.
at an 8, it takes me about 20 minutes to get almost like 10 to 12,000 IUs worth of sun exposure,
Mm,
which is a lot.
Can you tell the listeners what your IU preferred exposure should be
Yeah.
and how you would attain
For the
a
listeners,
stable amount? Yeah, no, just your routine.
Mm,
Not for the listeners. How do you do it?
Yeah.
I just get out in the sun and stay as long as possible.
But how do you measure the IUs? Is there
I have an app called D-Minder, and it's a free app where you can, ideally you get a blood test before to check your vitamin D status, but you download the app, you track each session, and then, it goes into the total sum of your blood test results.
So we can call that app an index of information about this.
Ah, the index of information.
Listen, it's the inner punny guy that's trying to come out right now. But okay. D-Minder?
Free app, yeah.
Nice. This is not a
Technology.
sponsor, but would love to be somehow.
You never know. We could actually get sponsored by it.
D-Minder, you know what to do.
Send you a message.
Yeah.
You'll hear from us soon. From our legal team, which is me.
From our
Propose
legal
it.
team.
Yeah. So, what is on the mind today?
I know Zaid wants to get cold.
Cold?
Yeah.
Ah, I do have some information that might startle you.
Ooh.
So I'm definitely a fan of cold exposure and taking cold showers.
The 2 a.m. Wim Hof.
Yes. I don't have access to ice baths as of yet. Hopefully we can get that in the new stew. Or our ideal stew.
One trip to Costco, bro. You're chilling.
Just go swim in the ocean for an hour. Like.
Yeah, basically. But
Okay.
I have some scientifically backed data on cold
Yeah.
exposure that's very interesting.
Before we get to that, what I'm actually like, I know like obviously you sit in the water, but do you sit in the water or do you have to like move around?
I think most people can't even stand still in the water for more than half a second. So you're gonna move around whether you want to or not. For cold,
Yeah.
For what is that? Cold shock therapy.
I mean, if for the Wim Hof method, he basically goes into like
Well, he's
an
a savage.
ice lake,
Yeah.
but he teaches normal people, how to do it. So you just stand still, you close your eyes. It's like a meditation in cold water.
Yeah, you're trying to get your nerves under control.
Yeah.
Is that what you're doing?
By the way, do not do any type of breathing if you're in cold water because you can pass out and drown. So, little disclaimer.
You want to elaborate how that happens?
Wait, wait. No deep breathing.
No, you do deep, slow breathing, but any rapid breathing,
Hyperventilating.
okay.
hyperventilation, yes, that could make you pass out. And then there have been accounts of people who have drowned. So
My God.
don't do that.
Not only did he drown in cold water. The worst way to go out. My God. Okay.
Not
So
only are you dying, you're dying cold.
But anyways,
Better
I'm
than
actually-
honestly better than dying hot, I would imagine.
I mean,
Like burning
you're
to death.
dying either way.
Well, that actually
I-
that raises the question. If you had to burn to
Good
death,
question.
if you had to burn to death or drown,
Yeah.
what would you prefer?
drown. Well, actually, I don't know.
Right?
'Cause-
You know what I think here? I mean, both circumstances are terrible, but I think that's when we get into the idea of your brain. You just tap into like a different state, and it's almost like you don't feel the pain. You feel the pain in the beginning,
You're
but
literally
eventually,
feeling your lungs fill to capacity with water.
yeah, but eventually you get in such a state that it's like, I see the light, and it's like I feel like I'm going home. People have said that when
So
they're
we're
dying.
gonna drown Zaid in the next episode. That's what we figured out. We're gonna ask if he can see the light.
Yeah.
We'll have a medical staff present,
Yeah.
which is our resident EMT.
Don't get me wrong; it's terrible either way.
I know what it is. Okay, so Wim Hof.
No, we won't.
The
drown
Wim Hof
Zaid.
method. You said is backed by science. What does that mean?
Well, a Wim Hof method is a part of cold exposure.
And
cold
Wim Hof
therapy.
is the guy that came up with
Although, sorry, if we're talking about Wim Hof and medical anomalies, that man is a medical anomaly. He's done some shit. Like, they've done or composed tests on him, and it's unbelievable, like, some of the results they've gotten. Like, for example, didn't they inject him with a live flu virus,
I think it was E. coli.
E. coli? Yeah, in his body, he was able to fight off the infection.
My God, dude.
He was able
Imagine-
to control his autonomic nervous
He has
system,
the black belt
Which
of
is-
immunity. Look at that.
which is unheard of in science.
Yeah.
Before he did that, scientists said it was impossible to do. So that gives you an idea of how
Of who he is as like what his field was like.
not just him, but he's
His-
teaching normal people to do the same thing.
Well, he also, what was the other one that he was famous for? He exposed himself. Well, he wasn't naked, but he was in an ice bath for, was it 8 or 12 hours?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, just an ice bath where they keep adding ice to make sure it's at a stable temperature. And I think it was his core body temp never dropped below. Like,
This crazy
What was
fucker
the
did it
number?
in the middle of a city square, I think, too.
That's
no, I thought
insane.
he did it in the lab.
I'm not.
At least the
actually, I'm
photos
not sure.
and videos I've seen, it looked like it was in a
Yeah.
lab setting.
He could have been training.
But he was able to control his internal temperature.
Yeah, that's wait. So who is? Describe this man. Do you know how to describe this man?
His story. So
Where is he from?
He has
he
a wild
originally,
story.
I believe, his wife committed suicide, and I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And for some reason, I don't know how he got to this conclusion, but something told him to jump into cold water. And from that point, it was just like, he did it as therapy, I guess.
It is. It's shock therapy. I would love to love it. I can't say I love it because it's torture.
Oh, it's brutally
Yeah.
painful.
Yeah, nobody, I mean,
except Wim Hof.
Yeah.
Like nobody truly
listen,
enjoys
it's
it.
one thing to take a cold shower. You get used to that. But to do like Arctic
He has the
level
name for
temperatures
it.
is insane.
He has a name for it too, like Wim Hof. Like that's what you do when you enter cold water. You Wim and you Hof, dude. Like you're, like
You just get jiggy with
I feel
it.
like the Hof is the hyperventilation.
Yeah.
It's like the
yeah. So it's just that's awesome though.
But it's also backed by science.
Yeah.
So
Let's get to science.
this comes from the work of Dr. Rhonda Patrick, who I know we're both fond of.
Yes.
We love Dr. Rhonda Patrick and
course
the
we
work
do.
she does.
You
But
said-
I'll be go ahead.
No, continue. Sorry.
I'll be explaining some quotes here. It's going to go quite into depth, but
Mhm.
let's just get started. So, one of the most consistent and profound physiological responses to cold exposure is a robust release of norepinephrine into the bloodstream. What makes norepinephrine so interesting is that it's not only a hormone, but also a neurotransmitter and is involved in vigilance, focus, attention, and mood.
Mm.
So it makes sense when you get into a cold shower, you get this intake of energy,
Yeah.
and after you get out of it, you're like, it's way better than a cup of coffee in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's a center of focus. You are the, it's like if a jitter was comfortable.
If a jitter was
If a caffeine jitter was comfortable, that's what it feels like
Mhm.
to me at least.
Mhm.
I've only done cold showers like 3 times in my life.
I love hearing new studies like this because it allows me to think of like the evolutionary standpoint as to how that could affect us. In a sense, like what were our ancestors doing differently that allowed this, right? For example, jumping into cold water in the morning or whatever
Yes.
helps balance your mood, your what else did you say? It was your mood, it was
vigilance, focus.
your vigilance, focus, stuff like that. And I imagine it was whoever the ones were that lived by cold water and jumped in the morning, got that boost from it. They were able to go out, be better providers.
Or maybe hot water was luxury, so
Exactly.
you actually did not have the means to have hot water.
that as well.
And it makes sense
That-
because
that
we
does play a
know
part.
Native Americans and certain tribes. Also, the Russians do this to this day. They take their infants and expose them to cold.
Ooh.
Like they don't.
The Russians don't have a choice, bro.
Yeah.
Like everywhere you go, it's cold. Like,
Yeah, get used to it or suffer.
Like you'll stand next to a burning barrel and be like, "Damn, can I get warmer?" Like,
Yeah.
But at a certain temperature, norepinephrine is released, and it increases norepinephrine by 530%, and dopamine by 250%.
And for those who don't know what dopamine is, that's the feel-good chemical.
We discussed this in the flow state episode, actually. If you guys want to refer to that one.
Yeah, so ice baths and deep meditation in order to raise your dopamine levels.
But you're familiar with heat shock proteins, right? From sauna use?
You could say we're acquaintances.
Yeah. Believe it or not, there's actually also cold shock proteins.
Ah.
And believe it or not, one of the things that they've tested in rats is the potential of cold shock proteins to bring back lost synapses from the brink. Yeah.
Do tell.
Dude.
Do tell. For real though. Like
you
I'm actually right now just picturing my life with cold showers.
Yeah. So listen, this
Continue.
interesting phenomenon was first observed from studies done on hibernating animals. However, when animals that hibernate warm back up, close to 100% of the synapses regenerate, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. But the best part is that the effect is not limited to just hibernating animals. It's also been shown in laboratory mice, which are very similar to human beings in terms of like genes and stuff.
Are those American laboratory mice or?
Does it matter?
Apparently it does. Apparently American lab mice are all severely, what was it? They have like a large amount of genetic defects in them because they've basically been breeding mice from like one same pool
I can see
for
that.
X
Yeah.
amount of years. I think it was something like that. I'm trying to remember. There was like a weird debacle about American test mice or bullshit.
They're all bullshit. But
I mean, my organic lab
Yeah.
mice.
here's
FDA
the potential use case for human beings. The mechanism by which the lost synapses regenerate was found to be dependent on boosting the activity of something called RBM3, a cold shock protein that is conserved in humans, or observed, actually, not conserved. So we have it too. So this begs the question, can we introduce this form of therapy to people who either have a neurodegenerative disease, or we can use this as a form to kind of avoid neurodegenerative disease?
I would imagine this is more on the preventative side than the reactive side of care.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because I can't imagine taking somebody with ALS, like, for example, well, Stephen Hawking didn't have ALS. What did he have? It was, did he have ALS?
I think it was ALS.
Was it ALS? Anyways,
I don't recall.
let's just
what
say
it was
take
exactly.
somebody with ALS
Sure.
for instance, right? I don't think dipping them into a cold pool and then putting them into a
No,
sauna
it's
is going to
not
make their
Yeah.
cognitive function come back, but I can imagine that in your youth,
Yeah.
right? Like ages 18 to anywhere below your 40s, it can greatly reduce your chance of getting neurodegenerative diseases such as that.
Mm-hmm.
It makes sense, at least from the laboratory studies. Maybe they need to do more to confirm it. I'm
Yeah.
not sure, but
And then last quote on this topic. Mice that were experimentally induced to have a neurodegenerative disease from prion infection, when exposed to 2 rounds of the cold exposure procedure early in life, were protected against the loss of synapses, allowing them to have more than twice as many synapses as the mice that didn't get the treatment 12 weeks after being infected.
Mm.
The experimental cold stress also prevented cognitive and behavioral deficits that would have normally occurred in these mice as they progressed into later stages of neurodegeneration.
so maybe if you're at risk, who's getting a call?
We have a phone.
Oh, it's the new iPad.
Yeah, it's your iPad, bro.
It's the new iPad. Got a new
It's-
iPad.
Guess who it is? Dr. Basil.
Of course. But yeah, I mean, this is very interesting stuff. I just believe that science is confirming an age-old tradition that many cultures have been using for thousands of years. Our bodies are designed to experience variations in temperature, and I think it's harming us more than helping us that we're, always in air-conditioned rooms at like the perfect 75 degrees. We're not exposing ourselves to temperature variations and stressing our bodies in that way.
Yeah.
So, as well as neurodegenerative, do you believe that there could be an immune effect that cold shock and heat shock proteins have? So,
Yes.
instead of just boosting brain function capacity, regenerating neurons, synapses, blah blah blah, all that stuff, does it have like immunological effects?
There's been I think there's been research showing that it strengthens the immune system.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that people who consistently do cold therapy don't get sick. Now, of course, they're usually following a healthy lifestyle, so all of that contributes, but there's definitely something to be said for that.
Yeah, there's no like 50-year-old chain smoker, hasn't run a mile since ever, only been eating red meat consistently for how many years now? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not
doing
perfect,
cold shock
but
therapy.
I haven't been sick in a long time.
And
I
that's
really-
good. Don't jinx it.
I
Yeah.
really contribute that to the consistent use of cold therapy.
That's what I'm saying. That's truly what I've been saying. So growing up, I could just say this from now. Me compared to my siblings and my parents, they always get sick. I was the only one where I can manage to shower and head out in like 30-degree weather, completely wet, nothing would happen. I can sleep shirtless, nothing would happen. Other people would do that, and then they would complain about it. They'd be like, yeah, stomach cramps or this, or just like, I'm getting sick, I have the cold, I got the flu. I was grateful enough to not really experience much of it,
Mhm.
But I think that's due to how universal or versatile I am. I just do all these things, right?
It's
You're
just
the
a
Swiss
versatile
So if I
Army
hear-
knife of people, bro.
Exactly, dude. You got to
Multifunctional.
try everything. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and he was telling me about fasting, and he's like, "How do you do fasting for like 2 days or 3 days or even 16 hours?" I can't. I get angry, and I was like, Psh, "Amateur." Anyway,
You just
16
don't,
hours is
bro,
easy,
you
bro.
just don't eat.
yeah, you just don't eat, right? You could do water. That's
Yeah,
fine.
that's more than enough.
Yeah, that's more than
It's the
enough, right?
Mongol diet.
But I was telling him, like, generally, I think the way we should live our lives is to always use our bodies as an experiment, dude. Try different things, see how you feel, Go on supplements for a week, see if you feel different. Go for a month. Start running for a month.
Be careful with what supplements.
Yeah, of course.
Sorry, I just needed to say that.
Yeah.
And the main reason why both fasting and cold showers work is because of a principle called hormesis.
Hormesis?
So basically, it goes into the idea of whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Now, of course, there's a lot of nuance there, but
Yeah.
Well, coming from the king of nuance himself, this shouldn't be much of a problem.
but when you introduce certain inputs,
Yeah.
like a short-term stressor, that's what exercise is. If you take a blood test after you have a hard training session, your blood results look disastrous. Your inflammation goes through the roof.
Yeah, that's why they tell you to fast before you come in for a blood test. That's why they tell you, like, take all these measurements before you come in to test, and then you can do whatever you want after.
Yeah, you have
Because
to
it
get
has
an
to be
objective
at a
look.
balance. Like,
Mhm.
at a balance. But, you know what I mean?
And it's not like you have to, put yourself in an ice bath every day. It's just, if it's cold, take your jacket
Yeah.
off. You
Here-
can do very simple things.
Here's
to-
something that happened in real time, guys. This was probably back in, like, episode 67 when I started. But I had went and taken a blood test. And Zaid was here when I got the results. And I had him actually check my charts.
Bro,
right.
I geek out over blood
Yeah,
tests.
he was just like, let me see. Triglycerides. Okay, your cholesterol's like doing good, but it's like you should probably cut dip. And I'm like, okay, relax. Let's just go through the list first, And then he was like, this is what I suggest doing. Do this. Get your vitamin D from the sun. Try not to take it from pills. Blah blah blah. Do all that. Reduce your like peanut intake, I guess. I don't know. I forgot what you told me.
Processed carbs.
Yeah, processed
know?
carbs, things like that. Just watch what you eat, kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, now I'm very conscious. And I did it. And guess what? I sleep better.
I didn't get any better.
yeah. I didn't
This
get
guy's a con
It was
artist.
the worst advice I've ever been given. about
Unfollow
my
him
health.
on Twitter.
No. But like for real, it helped drastically. Just little things helped because over time, like it takes time, obviously. You can't just do it immediately. Like, oh, I'm just gonna not eat bread today. And then boom, next day you feel better. No, that's not how it works. Like it takes time, right? So within a span of a week to 2 weeks, that's when I started feeling like, okay, I am on a good momentum right now. My head level is healthy. I feel great. There's plenty of normal, natural energy. So I quit coffee.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's another thing about me. I just like if I see that I have too much energy, I'll cut back on caffeine. Like I'll just be like, nah, screw that. Keep it at a balance.
You know what? Sorry, you just mentioned caffeine, but I quit caffeine a couple days ago.
Yeah.
And even though it's just been a couple days, like 2, maybe 3-ish days,
Mm-hmm.
the energy level is now, it's no longer, like a roller coaster all day. It's much more
It's a steady.
It's a steady decline.
Yes. It's a fade out.
Yeah, and it's not like a whole bunch of energy in the beginning of the day. It's like almost a straight line,
Mm-hmm.
and then exponentially just kind of starts to dip down towards bedtime.
You're a little more clear-headed.
Just how your body's naturally supposed to respond. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Not jumping off the walls, not like, you get those caffeine jitters. You're like, ooh.
Bro, there's some coffee zealots out there. You tell them to cut out coffee, and they're like,
Wow.
they
be like
become
asking them to-
become jihadis.
It's like asking them to leave their religion. It's like,
Yeah. Oh my god.
Really, it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
It's
I
amazing.
can see that. I know a lot of people like that, which is it's cool because they treat it more as like of a hobby. It's something that makes them happy. It's just something that they have grown up with. I know a lot of people that started drinking coffee at like 5, dude.
Well,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
That's
but
crazy.
what people don't understand.
What's crazier is the parents.
Then again, like there are people I know that came from New York and they're like, yeah, I'd have a cup of coffee like 2 a.m. after I eat. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Did
you're
you just
like,
say?
how? How do you do that? I
Wait,
don't
I'm
understand.
like, what? He's like, yeah, I just had dinner, 2 a.m., had a little bit of coffee afterwards, some cake. And I'm like, 2 a.m. When do you go to bed? Like 4:35 in the morning.
Whoa. That's when I wake up.
I was like, what time do you get up? And he was like, I think it was like noon or something. Noon or 1
What
was when he started his day.
What a shit schedule, dude.
Well, for him, it made sense because he didn't have a lot going on during the day. This is when he was in high school, and I think he was doing it virtually anyways. So he'd get up, just do his school for 3 or 4 hours, and then afterwards he would just go and try to play any gig that he could get his hands on or that he could jump into. And so sometimes, since he was a jazz musician, that calls being out till like 3 or 4 in the morning.
Yeah, sometimes it is the circumstances.
Yeah.
I had a client in Cairo, so I had to flip my entire schedule, dude. I was up
Damn.
till like 3 a.m. Yeah.
Damn.
Oh, one of my sorry, this is a random one, but one of my friends across the street from him, there's this kind of like middle-aged dude, probably like mid 40s to early 50s ish, and he wakes up at like 9:30 at night.
Wow.
And the reason for that is because the majority of his business gets done in China, I believe.
Which is
So he
China.
has to be on their time.
that's way like that time zone is too spread apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Somebody's got to do it though,
Yeah,
man.
that's true.
Somebody's got to get the job done.
That's true.
Yeah, but what people don't know about coffee is that it actually heavily contributes to anxiety.
Oh yeah.
And it also can mess up somebody's health severely, especially if you're overly stressed
Mm-hmm.
and you rely on caffeine as a crutch to get you up, to feel awake. That can lead down a very nasty road.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what it was turning into for me, and I'm like, I don't know if I want this like right at the crack of dawn,
Yeah.
because that feels a little weird.
I
to me. I'm like,
believe that certain like since we're all different individuals, we all take in caffeine differently.
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
But it's just not for us.
Yeah.
Just accept it. I like the flavor.
But here's the thing, I love the flavor of coffee,
Yeah.
like just black coffee,
Mhm.
love it. Here's the thing, we don't give Brits shit for drinking tea, yet it can actually have as much, if not more, caffeine than coffee does.
Yes. I was just
Seriously?
getting to that.
Depending
because
on which type of tea it is.
I've been exploring tea for quite a while. I know you have too. With chamomile. And all
I
that
mean, I
stuff.
almost worked at a tea shop in high school. Like, I love
Ooh.
tea. That was
Tea.
almost my first job. Then I went in to fill out the application, and they had closed their doors like a day or two before.
Oh my god.
Damn.
They
Yeah.
only take interviews in Boston.
And I was here. What are you
Oh,
talking
just
about?
kidding.
Oh.
Tea
You talking
party.
about, boy?
The tea party.
Oh,
God, dude, you missed the joke,
I get
bro.
you, bro. I get you.
But anyway, since we missed the joke, we're gonna go back to ice
How did I
baths.
miss a history joke, dude? Like, come on.
I've said one before too, but I don't think you were talking. We were talking about the French. And I was like, "What? Did they surrender again?" And then no one got it, and you guys just continue talking. You know what? I'll find that clip. And sometimes I just whisper things, guys. But yeah. Tea is a wonderful place to be. I think it's if you like hot drinks and coffee, tea is a good place to be if you can manage to adjust to the taste of it.
Also, to let people know, when your tea says decaf or no caffeine, non-caffeinated,
Mm-hmm.
usually, if I remember correctly, at least by the FDA standards, there has to be less than, I think it was 5 milligrams
Mm-hmm.
of caffeine in it.
So they can technically have caffeine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's such a minimal amount. It really
Yeah.
doesn't even have an
Yeah.
effect on
I was
you.
reading as a standard, it's usually across all brands and stuff that you find, it's usually 3 milligrams, which is nothing.
Yeah.
But
My
Hmm.
point is, if you have like a very adverse reaction to caffeine, that means you're going to want to go for your more like floral kind of teas that they don't really have caffeine in them to begin with. Maybe something like a chamomile lavender tea.
That
If that's up
chamomile
your alley.
glycine combo is just
My
magic.
favorite
Maybe
is-
some ginger turmeric.
Ooh.
dude,
Turmeric.
Some
what I've been on
yerba
lately,
mate.
That has
cher-
a lot of caffeine.
cherry lemon tea. Fire.
Ooh, that'd be good.
Fire. No sugar, nothing.
Normally for me, I'm not like I'm not a cherry tea guy because it
Mhm.
always tastes like cough syrup, like hot cough
Yeah,
syrup.
yeah, it has that candy cherry.
Okay, so it's like a
No, this is just it's like a more of an essence of cherry, but more of a lemon
Oh.
taste.
So it's
So
it's
good.
like the LaCroix of teas. It's the essence.
It's the
It's the
LaCroix.
essence.
Naturally essence.
The
Yes.
It's like a cherry farted into your tea.
Mhm.
And when we say
Mhm.
get adjusted
Just a
to the
whisper.
taste of tea, that doesn't mean putting like half a load of sugar in your tea or like 14 tablespoons.
Yeah.
Because I see people doing that a lot.
That's
too.
something
of
else.
course.
That's something else that we should watch out for. Sugar intake. Right? I have sugar, but there are some days where I just be like, all right, I know I already had one soda today, so I'm just gonna.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm
Not
not
gonna do
immune to it
anything
either.
else.
I fall into that trap.
And then 11 o'clock hits, and I'm eating Sour Patch.
Well, it's the big bummer with sugar, at least in terms of like large food corporations and people of that nature, is that back in the 90s, we were semi-misled, at least, to believing that fats are like the worst thing that you can possibly consume for your body, right? it would just make you obese immediately, like, and your cholesterol levels would skyrocket and X, Y, and Z. But it was only because it was a specific group of fats that were being added to the products that were bad, right? For some products, they came naturally with fats. Now, there's trans fats and saturated fats. The saturated are the ones you want, and the trans are the ones you don't want, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And so a lot of these processed foods at the time, at least in the 90s, they had a good amount of trans fats, an okay amount of saturated fats, depending on what product you're buying from what brand, and they didn't have a lot of sugar. So they got the majority of their flavor from fat, right? Over time, there was a phasing out of fat, zero fat, reduced fat,
Low fat.
low fat. You hear all of those things. But in doing that, they got rid of the majority of the saturated fats, at least for the low fat or half fat ones, right? 50% fat. They got rid of the majority of saturated fats, kept a lot of the trans fats, and then to make up for it, they added a ton of sugar just so it actually tastes good. for
Or
a lot
else
of
it
these
tastes like
products.
cardboard.
Yeah.
Like straight up, it would
That's
just taste
terrible.
like pure cardboard.
Wow.
And so they added sugar to a lot of these, and you know, heart problems got worse, obesity problems raised, and everybody was standing around scratching their heads like, what could it possibly be?
Mhm.
And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, how many grams of Coke, or how many grams of sugar are in a can of Coke? How many grams of sugar in my cereal in the morning?
Yeah.
How many grams of sugar in this protein
People
bar?
are easily passing 100 grams a day.
Oh, that's so easy.
yeah, very easy.
Super
Yeah,
easy.
I would say it's more like 80. You're surpass 80 quick.
Around
but,
that
like,
range.
I came upon a article recently, and it was very interesting. It was two parents, mainly the mother. She was doing an experiment on her newborn child. Her newborn child is now 13 years old today, but she claims that she is the healthiest child on planet Earth, and that's because
big
Big
claim.
claim.
she went out of her way to make sure that none of her foods have sugar in it. So she hasn't never consumed sugar in her entire life.
Good for her.
Really?
Good
And
for
it's
her.
an ongoing experiment. I just found it to be very weird because it's unheard of,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because think about it, you can have bread and it'll have like 1 gram of sugar.
Or could have a lot.
We're gonna have a lot.
Well,
right?
bread itself.
Either
is,
way, it's just even if it's like half a gram, that's still some sugar. But this mom is claiming that she went out of her way and just sacrificed everything in her life to make sure that her daughter does not have a single gram of sugar. Anything of
It's a
sugar.
very weird thing to obsess over, but
Yeah.
at the same time, I can kind of understand
Yeah.
where she's coming from.
I think that is the weird side because we see the weird obsession. It's like, why does this matter so much? But
Well, also, we live in a culture of sugar. Everything has sugar. I mean, we just said everything has sugar in it, but
Literally
we
everything.
also have holidays that are centered around foods enriched with sugar.
yeah,
I mean, maybe not culturally speaking or traditionally, but traditions change over time. Like, for example, Christmas. You give out candies, you drink eggnog, you
Yeah.
have candy canes. Like, one of the staple foods, or at least the, staple traditional things you'd eat at that time, has the word candy in it.
yeah.
You wouldn't have Halloween without the candy tradition.
You wouldn't have Halloween without
It's like being
candy.
blind,
Exactly.
being blind to just sweet.
It's wild, man.
Even your birthday.
Yeah.
What's the main thing you eat on your birthday,
Cake.
traditionally
Cake.
speaking? Exactly. A big pan of just sugar, flour, eggs, and milk.
That poor girl has no idea what cinnamon twists taste like.
That is the downside.
Yeah.
However, if her mom went through the trouble of learning how to be like an excellent, amazing cook, I don't think she would even miss sugar. Because you can have some meals that are prepped with extremely minimal, if no sugar at all, which is
How can
usually
you miss
most-
sugar if you never had it? It's an excellent point from me, of course.
Well,
No.
biologically, we all adapted to get this influx of dopamine and serotonin from sugar. So
Also, I don't mean to be that guy, but the child probably did drink some sugar in its time.
From the milk.
Yes.
Yes, you're right.
everybody likes sugar.
So, point is, mom.
Unless the mom went
That is
on like a
invalid.
year-long diet before she got pregnant of no sugar,
Unless,
I just don't know how it's possible.
or she dumped it all, pumped it all out, and then just fed her like.
filtered out the sugar from.
No, can you imagine?
That would be
sugar out.
ridiculous.
I mean, she said she went to extreme measures to make sure. So I don't know what those.
Was she
extreme measures-
breastfed?
I don't know.
That's what we're trying to. That's what we're talking about.
Decipher right now. Yeah. That's it.
You're making a realization we talked about like 2 minutes ago.
Yeah, no, I know. But it has sugar. It has sugar.
But he's in his own head. Just leave him.
I'm in my own head.
Yeah. But but does she breathe? But does she breathe? Yeah.
But I actually going back to the fats thing. I wish I mentioned that on the obesity episode.
Yeah, why didn't you?
Because there's a part 2. Remember?
we were discussing a lot of things. We'll
Hey,
probably
hey.
get into that in future.
It's a part. There's a part 2.
Yeah, there's actually 3 parts to it.
Yeah, there's 3 parts to obesity.
But yeah,
I thought that was just health scares in the U.S. and not like any given instance or like one specific instance. Like obesity rose 30% this year. Why did that happen? No, it's like things that have been causing Americans health issues for years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Obesity
that's
was
the
one of
miniseries.
them. I feel like the next one's probably going to be cardiovascular related illnesses, which you could semi-tie pulmonary into that if you want to.
There's going to be a lot of commonalities between the 3 episodes.
Yeah. There'll be some overlap on a few of them, but
Yeah.
the next one, I'm excited for the next one. Though.
So now that we talked about trans fats, saturated fats, sugars, and dieting, caffeine, all that in general, do you think that in order, like, let's just say I was addicted to sugar, right? And obviously, if it's not up to me, maybe if I were to just stop, just stop consuming the sugar, I'm stopping the action of consuming, but my body still craves it.
Yeah.
Now, I think, if I remember correctly, cold showers speed up the process of you getting over it.
Indirectly, because cold therapy taps into... So cold therapy has been shown to improve blood glucose, your response to certain foods and how that impacts blood glucose, but also it taps into... There are 2 different types of fat. There's visceral fat, so there's brown and white fat. Visceral fat is basically fat, it's organ fat, which is what you really want to get rid of.
Visceral.
Yeah. And it's been shown that cold therapy impacts the good type of fat, which I believe is the brown fat, and it gets rid of the white fat over time.
So that's why a lot of people, if you see them, like people that especially do laps, or like 1 or 2 laps in cold water, because you can't sit there longer than 3 minutes because it hurts. They usually have, it looks like they have just a tighter skin, like frame, I guess.
It's great for skin too.
Is it?
Yep.
There's nothing it can't cure, apparently. From what
It's amazing when you go into the science. It literally covers so many things.
So scratch everything we said about obesity. All you need to do is cold shower, baby.
Just jump in the cold water.
No.
Just jump in a lake nearby.
That's not how it works. Everything takes place in whatever. It's just interesting. It's just interesting how one thing can actually change your life
It can.
for the better, too.
Yeah.
Do you have anything in mind specifically? Or did you meant just in reference
It's
to the cold showers?
referencing cold showers, but it's just like the day-to-day. Like, if you're alive today, you've lived every fucking day. So, you know that not every day was consistent. I think when you implement, little parts of discipline like cold showers, even though you don't want to do it, when you don't want to do it, that's when you should especially do it. That's how, we get taught these things by the
brings
people
up a
that are
good
higher
point,
than us.
because you don't look forward to a cold shower, so it also hits it makes you tougher. It forces you to go into an experience that you don't necessarily want to go into.
Yeah.
But once you get past the first 30 seconds to a minute,
Yeah. It's like if
you're
you like,
chilling.
if you
Literally.
Yeah.
Literally.
It's like if you're introverted but you like the ideas of Goggins, then do that. Because it's a little, it does feel extreme. Even though it's your daily use shower that you shower every day in. Sometimes it's scary. That's all. But I think especially when you're scared, when you do it, it hits better than the time where you felt comfortable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It just shocks you a different way. And every time, it's like the first time.
Shock me like an electric eel.
Oh my God.
Sorry, you said shock me.
Yeah, I feel you.
Couldn't help it.
Yeah.
Also, you were talking about how one little thing that you can do during your day changes your whole perspective on it.
Yeah.
And I did have an example in mind. Not that it was pre-prepared, of course. I'm not a psychic, but like
Or are you?
I've been doing I've been doing something recently. At the end of every day, where I'm lying in bed, and I'm like just on the verge of about to go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
I'll think about every single thing I did that entire day, from the moment I woke up till I ended up in that bed.
Mm.
And I know that sounds like, oh, that's so cliche, so generic. It's like, no, but like think about it. Like actually take the time and realize that the spot you're in right now when you're falling asleep was the exact one you woke up earlier that morning in. Got up, did all your shit. You got into a car, you drove somewhere. What I'm saying is incredibly generic, right? You drove somewhere, you got all your work done, you went to a store to look for something. They didn't have what you wanted, so you went to this other store, which was like 15, 20 miles away, but you had to go get it because you needed this thing today and not tomorrow or whatever. And then finally, it turns out they have it. Thank God. You got the extended warranty on it. You had to drive all the way back home now that you've gone so far out of your way. You've driven probably anywhere from 40 to 80 miles on average. Here's the thing. As I'm thinking about everything I did during my day, I like to think about it from the perspectives of people in the past, right? I was watching this video, for example, yesterday as I was falling asleep, I was reminded of exactly what I was doing through this video on YouTube. It's by this guy called RCR, Regular Car Reviews. And he was driving a Model T, a Ford Model T, the originals, like from the I think it was 1923, 24 version he was driving, where original factory parts on that car were made out of cotton. And it's not the interior, it's like, you know, components that are actually mechanically driving the car, like the belt, were made out of cotton back in the day. Yeah, don't worry about it catching on fire or anything. Like, and those cars, the way they operate is radically different. Like today, we put the car in gear, we give it gas, and we go. If you have a manual transmission, you put it into gear, lightly let off the clutch as you let onto the gas, and you're moving. Back in the day, they basically had two different gearboxes on one car, and it was essentially on autopilot since you started the car. So like the majority of the time, if you were in very low speed scenarios, you'd leave it in first gear, which is a completely different type of transmission than second gear. Now, this sounds very stupid, but my point is, the way that people back in the day used to look at cars, transportation, movement through space was radically different from how we view it today, right? So I'm laying in bed, and I'm staring at the ceiling, and I'm thinking to myself, like, people back in the day wouldn't even, like, conceive of driving 80 miles. Like, if you had a Ford Model T, the most you were pushing that day was like 12 to 15. I couldn't even do a quarter of the stuff I wanted to do back then that I could do today.
If you had one, too. Most people were on horses. They
Exactly.
couldn't afford them.
And then that brings on a whole different type of problem. It's like a car you have to feed and brush.
It's amazing.
I'm impressed by your practice before you go to sleep.
I know
because
it sounds...
that's something that I keep to myself, but since it's out there, F it.
It sounds crazy to people who don't self-reflect.
Well, I know it sounds weird, but it also gives you a chance to, like you said, self-reflection, in the sense of you sit down, you get to process everything that you did that day to the best of your ability. So in a sense, it's kind of like a mental exercise, right?
It is. It's a mental exercise of organization too, because as we all have experienced, we have blurry days. Your weeks can feel like one day sometimes, right? If you're focused on one project or one assignment or whatever it is, it could be like one family problem, right? It could feel like that week can feel like you didn't sleep at all and it was just all a blur, right? But that practice is good because it gets you to actually stop and think about what happened today. And then you get to realize that day by day, when you go to sleep, that every day was different. It sections it out into little folders.
What's funny is you said how sometimes one day or a week can feel like one day. That was kind of what caused me to start doing it. Was it would freak me out during the school year how like, you know, you're just doing work and then all of a sudden, oh, finals are here. What? Like, how did that shit happen? It's been 3 months. Like, how did we get here?
No, straight up. It's like those memes you see. I don't feel those anymore just because I practice this a lot. But it's just like, oh, March 1st and then day 2, March 16th. You know, people are just like, and then everyone's freaking out like, oh my God, dude, it's only been 2 days. How's it March 30?
And you can see how that can go into like,
Yeah.
oh, I spent 40 years of my life not thinking about anything meaningful, and now I'm like
Yeah.
fucking miserable at 60.
You know what's another practice? You guys are gonna laugh at this, but literally look at your phone and realize what date it is.
No, that's not funny. That's actually you'd be shocked.
You'd be shocked. You know how many
Yeah.
people like for example, I'd be like, or someone for some reason would just be like, oh hey, do you have a pen? I'd be like, yeah, I got one right here. Cool. And they'd be like, oh damn, what's the date today? I'm like, are you serious? Like, do you even know what day it is? It's Wednesday, dude. It's Thursday.
Well, my dad
It's
said
like,
that to
oh
me.
god, you know
The thing that freaked me out was my dad did that. He
Yeah.
was like, I'm like, oh, it's Wednesday. We don't have shit to worry about. And he's like, it's Tuesday, right? And I'm like,
what?
this is a problem.
Well,
Yeah.
I think it's a double-edged sword because I would prefer a lifestyle where I don't necessarily think about what day it is. Like whether it's a weekend or a Monday, I feel the same exact way about my life. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I don't have to place a particular importance on what the date is.
Yeah, that's because you probably are just disciplined in other areas, so you have a form of practice that just takes care of that.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
This might be a bizarre example, but the reason I use it as like a
No.
neurological, like a brain game, if you want to call it that,
Mm-hmm.
is because if you look at older generations, and I'm talking about people that endured the Great Depression, went through stuff like World War II, their ability to name when events happened and like the day it happened and the exact intricacies of every last detail
Impeccable.
is astonishing
Yeah, impeccable.
for their age.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm not going to be that guy. Like, definitely, I will not be that guy when I'm older, unless
You
I try to
practice.
remember what happens on every day. And I don't mean memorize it to a T like they are, but just have the cognizance to be able to,
Yeah.
and awareness to be like, oh, I remember like March or like, March 2019. That's when shit was going down, or 2020.
Well, yeah, if there's
That's
a
when it was
strong,
going down.
I think if there's a strong enough emotion attached to a particular date, then you're more likely
Yeah.
to remember it.
So that's why people that have journals, they know exactly what day it is.
Like if you've worked a normal job, you've made 40K max salary per year, and then you make $1 million a year through whatever investment you have, that day is going to stand out to you. You're going to
Mhm.
remember that probably until the day you die.
You're right, but I think you would still be surprised by how many people just miss the date and just go, the day I won. Or the
Mm.
year I won.
Yeah.
2021 was my year, dude. It wasn't a specific date.
Every
Like,
year's my year.
I don't know. There's many ways to think about it. But self-discipline. That's what it's all at. That's where it's all at.
That's right, baby.
Self-discipline. And I would like for y'all to discipline yourselves too by listening to every single episode we've ever put out. I know it's a lot to ask,
Listen,
but
this might
that's
sound
how
like a
it
lot,
starts.
but
So you want a great life.
This might sound like a lot, but I have literally listened to every single Joe Rogan Experience episode up to date.
I'm not even going to clap for you. That's just...
It's a waste of
Well,
time.
when I was
No, I'm
younger,
not a
kidding.
waste-
It's a
that's
when
not
I
a
was
waste of
younger, I
time.
was so obsessed with podcasts that I was like, I have to get through all of
That's
this shit, and I
dope.
did.
No, it's not a waste of time. It's just like, cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Weird flex, but okay.
It's a dorky.
We're
Everyone
bringing
has
that
their own
back,
thing.
yeah.
That's why I respect so many people. Everyone just do you. Do you. If that's you, that's awesome. That's why we're friends.
I don't do it anymore, of course, but
What do you mean? Come on, dude. We share episodes.
we share episodes, bro.
Yeah. But anyway, guys.
It's the 2 a.m. Buddhist challenge.
It
Listen
is.
to every single one of our episodes back to back in
Eyes
one
closed.
sitting.
Exactly. No reward.
I don't even know how... No, there will be a reward if you
For-
film yourself doing it.
Ooh.
How long is that video gonna be?
A long yeah, it's gonna be
It's gonna
over
be-
over 79
You would
hours.
have to be meditating
Yeah.
for multiple days.
Yeah. God damn. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, guys,
Guys.
what do you take away from this? What do you take away from this? Huh?
Take cold showers.
I'm taking a cold shower when I get home because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
very sweaty right now.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm ready for it to be over.
I'm actually so ready for a cold shower right now as well.
Yeah.
Cut out the coffee. And
Cut
think
out
about
the
your
bullshit
day.
and listen to the 2 a.m. podcast,
Exactly.
baby.
Send us out.
Yes. All right, guys, you know where to find us. We are on YouTube at the 2 a.m. podcast. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell because you do not want to miss a video. Also, we have a clips channel. I'm sure you guys have heard. It's the 2 a.m. clips.
The 2 a.m. clips. Actually.
We're going to be uploading daily, pretty much every single day throughout the week. Also follow us at the 2 a.m. podcast on Instagram, where we share memes, funny Zaid roast,
Yes.
Logan's music,
Ooh.
my sick-ass portraits,
Ooh.
and much more. Do not miss a single thing, guys. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. Until next time.
I have an announcement.
You do?
I do. This is for all of you listening out there. We need all parties. We are calling all members, all listeners of the 2 a.m. podcast to come together in unison to roast the shit out of all of us, specifically
Yes.
Zaid.
Especially
But everybody's
me.
welcome.
We'll put up some Instagram highlights.
Yeah.
and
We
stuff.
are excited
Yeah.
for you, the audience, to roast us to as hard as you can. Burn us to a crisp. Send us to the deepest layer of hell. Scorch us. Whatever works for you. Just make sure you're making fun of us, and make sure you're having fun making fun of us.
Exactly.
Because we want to hear what you guys think of us in the most positive, ridiculous way possible.
Yeah.
So with that being said, roast the hell out of us, and until next time, peace.